Jacob never imagined that one sentence could shatter everything he had spent years building to reveal the kind of love he didn't even know he deserved. The moment the cold, sharp words, "You're fired," echoed across the marble office, his world seemed to pause. His fingers tightened around the worn-out folder in his hands to one holding his daughter's medical reports, school drawings, and the silent reminders of why he kept going every single day. He didn't argue. He didn't beg, because Jacob wasn't just an employee. He was a single father who had already lost too much to fight over pride. Julie Saturday, behind her massive glass desk, watching him carefully. To the world, she was a billionaire, untouchable, ruthless, known for making impossible decisions without blinking. But today wasn't about business. Today was a test, a quiet, hidden test no one in the company knew about. She had heard whispers about Jacob, janitor who stayed late, the father who brought his daughter to work when they had no one else, the man who smiled even when life gave him every reason not to. But Julie didn't believe in rumors. She believed in truth. "Is that all?" Jacob asked softly, his voice calm in a way that felt almost unnatural. Not angry, not broken, just steady. Julie leaned back slightly, expecting frustration, maybe even desperation, but what she saw instead confused her. "You don't want to ask why?" she questioned, her tone sharper than she intended. Jacob shook his head gently, a faint smile touching his lips that carried both pain and strength. "I've learned something," he said quietly. "Sometimes life takes things away not to punish you, but to make space for something better." He paused, glancing down at the folder. "And right now, my daughter needs me more than any job ever could." That was the moment everything changed. Julie felt something shift inside her chest, something unfamiliar, something she had buried under years of power, wealth, and control. She had expected excuses, anger, maybe even tears, but instead, she saw kindness, strength, a kind of love that couldn't be measured in money. "Wait," she said suddenly, her voice softer now. Jacob stopped at the door but didn't turn around immediately. For a brief second, Julie saw the exhaustion in his posture, kind that only comes from sleepless nights and silent sacrifices. When he finally turned, his eyes held no resentment, only quiet dignity. "Why didn't you fight for your job?" Julie asked, almost whispering. Jacob exhaled slowly. "Because I've already fought harder battles," he replied, "and I learned it, that some things are worth holding on to, and some things aren't." He hesitated before adding, "But people, kindness, love, those are always worth it." Julie's heart raced in a way she couldn't explain. For years, she had built an empire by trusting logic, strategy, and control. But standing in front of Jacob, she realized something terrifying and beautiful. She had never truly understood what strength looked like. "Tell me about your daughter," she said, her voice no longer that of a CEO but of a woman trying to understand something deeper. Jacob's expression softened instantly. "Her name is Emma," he said, and just saying her name lit up his face in a way nothing else had. "She's the bravest person I know. Even on her worst days, she smiles like the world hasn't hurt her at all." Julie swallowed hard, feeling an unexpected warmth spread through her chest. "And what would you do if you weren't fired today?" Jacob chuckled lightly. "Take her to the park. She loves watching the sunset. Says it feels like the sky is hugging her goodnight." Silence filled the room, but it wasn't empty. It was full of something growing between them, something neither of them had planned. Julie stood up slowly, her heels echoing softly against the floor as she walked toward him. For the first time in years, she wasn't thinking like a billionaire. She was listening like a human. "You're not fired," she said suddenly. Jacob blinked, confused. "I'm not." Julie shook her head, a small smile forming on her lips. "No, in fact, I think I just found the one person this company truly needs." "But why?" Jacob asked, genuinely puzzled. Julie looked at him, her eyes softer than they had ever been. "Because you reminded me of something I forgot," she said. "That success without kindness means nothing." In that moment, something deeper than gratitude passed between them, something unspoken, but undeniable, and neither of them knew it yet. But this was only the beginning of a story that would change both their lives forever. What Jacob didn't expect was that the test wasn't over, it had only just begun. Days turned into weeks, and what started as a second chance slowly became something neither of them could ignore. Julie found herself looking forward to the moments Jacob walked into the office, seen it because of his work, but because of the quiet warmth he carried with him. He didn't try to impress her. He didn't treat her like a billionaire. He treated her like a person. And for Julie, that was something rare. One evening, as the city lights flickered like distant stars, Julie found herself standing outside a small park same one Jacob had mentioned. She wasn't sure why she came until she saw him, sitting on a bench, laughing softly as his daughter pointed at the sky, describing shapes in the clouds as if they were stories only she could see. Julie hesitated, then walked closer. "Hey," she said gently. Jacob looked up, surprised, but his smile came instantly. "Julie." Emma's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Are you the lady from Daddy's work?" Julie nodded, kneeling slightly to meet her gaze. "I am." Emma smiled brightly. "Daddy says you gave him his job back? That means you're a good person." Those simple words hit Julie harder than any business deal ever had. For a moment, she couldn't speak. "I don't know about that," she said softly, "but I'm trying to be." Jacob watched her quietly, something shifting in his own heart. This wasn't the same woman who had once tested him. This was someone different, someone real. Days later, everything came full circle. At a company event filled with powerful investors and flashing cameras, Julie took the stage, but instead of announcing profits or expansions, she told a story about a man who chose kindness over anger, a story about a father who taught her what true strength looked like, a story about Jacob. And then, in front of everyone, she did something no one expected. She walked down from the stage, stood in front of him, and said, "You passed a test you didn't even know you were taking, not as an employee, but as a human being." The room fell silent. Julie smiled, her eyes meeting his, and somewhere along the way, "I think I failed my own test." Jacob shook his head gently. "No," he said softly, "you just needed someone to remind you." That was the moment their worlds finally aligned as a billionaire and an employee, but as two people who had found something real in a world full of illusions. Months later, the same park witnessed a different kind of sunset. Julie sat beside Jacob, her hand gently holding his, while Emma ran ahead, laughing freely. "You changed my life," Julie whispered. Jacob smiled. "No, we changed each other's." And as the sky turned gold, then pink, then deep blue, Julie realized something. She had spent her entire life searching for love wasn't built on power. It was built on kindness, and this time, it had a happy ending.